Many of us crave real influence, but we often stand in our own way without realizing it. One idea that Robert Greene emphasizes is the danger of working against yourself through subtle, everyday mistakes. These are not huge errors that appear obvious. Instead, they're quiet missteps that build up over time. When you look at powerful figures throughout history, you'll see that their influence wasn't just about bold statements or dramatic gestures. It came from understanding people's desires, fears, and hidden motivations. If you want genuine influence that doesn't vanish overnight, consider stopping the unhelpful patterns that, according to Robert Greene, weaken your position more than you might suspect. We sometimes believe that to be influential, we have to display our strengths in the most dramatic way. But this often causes more harm than good. Acting overly confident can make you seem insecure or anxious to prove yourself. People can sense when our actions come from a need for attention rather than a quiet belief in our abilities. If you rush to make a big impression, you risk overpromising. And when results fall short, everyone remembers the gap between your claims and your actual performance. That is why staying modest, even if you have remarkable skills, can help you earn trust naturally. When someone doesn't brag yet demonstrates competence, other people start to lean in and become genuinely curious. This approach has a stronger effect in the long run because those who observe you can't help but admire your steadiness. Another habit to avoid is focusing so much on short-term wins that you lose sight of what's best for you and others over time. In his teachings, Robert Greene points out how people often aim for quick success, thinking these small victories will add up to true respect. But small victories are often built on weak foundations. If you constantly chase immediate glory, you may ignore important relationships or moral standards, which can lead to setbacks later. Real influence grows when you show commitment to something beyond the present moment. This may be your craft, your mission, or a deeper set of values. People notice when you refuse to compromise on what matters most, even if it means turning down easy benefits. That consistent dedication can inspire loyalty, drawing people to you who appreciate your sense of purpose. It's tempting to think you can form influence by controlling every element of a situation. You might try to command people's thoughts or micromanage projects to prove your strength. Yet this approach can make others feel cornered or resentful, stirring up hidden rivalries. Even if those rivals don't openly challenge you right now, they will remember the discomfort you caused. Over time, resentment grows and undermines your position in ways you might not see coming. True influence depends more on guiding people than on policing them. When others believe they have the freedom to think, create, or share their ideas without judgment, they feel a sense of personal ownership. That investment in the shared goal can be far more powerful than anything forced or coerced. A more subtle mistake is dismissing the art of persuasion and relying on arguments or blunt facts. We often think that logic alone will win people over, but Robert Greene highlights how humans are driven by emotion, pride, and the desire to be heard. Even if you prove you're correct in a debate, that doesn't always shift the other person's stance. They may feel attacked or humiliated by the discussion and refuse to acknowledge the truth, even if it stands right in front of them. Shaming someone into agreement can create a silent rift that never heals. If you hope to persuade someone, approach the conversation with empathy and tact. Let them feel respected and heard, so they don't feel pressure to defend themselves. This strategy takes more patience, but it tends to create lasting change in attitudes. People rarely change their minds because of forceful logic. They do so because they feel it's safe to explore new views. There's also a risk in always presenting yourself as perfect or above normal human flaws. Some people imagine that to stay influential, they must seem flawless at all times. But this can come across as cold or inauthentic. If you never show any vulnerability, people might suspect you're hiding something. They also might feel they can't relate to you, which prevents deeper connections. True influence often includes moments of openness. When you allow a hint of personal struggle to show, others can see a human side of you. That doesn't mean you reveal every detail of your life. It simply means you let people know you can make errors, face uncertainty, or learn from tough experiences. The key is balance. If you share too much, you risk looking unsteady, but if you share too little, you seem distant or intimidating. Finding that line can make your influence feel genuine because people respond to leaders who combine expertise with a bit of authentic warmth. A major pitfall is undermining your own value by constantly comparing yourself to others. This habit often leads you to chase trends or copy people who appear to be winning. But if you spend all your time monitoring what others do, you'll lose the chance to develop a unique style. According to Robert Greene, mastery grows when you discover what sets you apart. If you're always trying to match someone else's path, you're sacrificing your authentic voice. Even if you manage to imitate the external elements of their success, you'll never quite capture what truly made it work for them. View other people's achievements as lessons, not instructions. Adapt their strategies in a way that reflects your own strengths. That way, the influence you build won't fade as soon as the trend changes. It will stand on something solid, your individuality. Also, be careful with the habit of broadcasting every plan before it's ready. When we get excited, we want to share what we're doing, hoping for support or admiration, yet constantly revealing your next move can stir up competition before you've secured your footing. Or it might attract doubters who poke holes in your idea, discouraging you in the early stages. If you speak too soon, you could also feel pressure from people's expectations. Then if plans change or take longer than expected, you risk looking unreliable. It's wiser to develop your projects quietly, focusing on the work itself. Once you gain momentum and there's something tangible to show, that's a better time to let others in. This approach can have a stronger impact because you're revealing outcomes rather than throwing ideas around without substance. One of the more damaging habits is to obsess over instant recognition. The desire for praise is natural, but it can trap you if you make it your main goal. When everything is a race for external approval, you may bend your morals or push aside friends just to get ahead. This can reward you in the short term with a bit of applause. But over time, people see that your main motivation is applause, not genuine contribution. That's when support for you starts to crumble. If you focus on growth by reading, practicing, or carefully absorbing feedback, you develop skills that speak for themselves. And when you finally earn praise, it will be for something real. This solid foundation strengthens your influence because it isn't attached to the fickle moods of others. It's also important to remember that real influence isn't about controlling people or making them do your bidding. Rather, it's about standing in a position of respect that encourages people to follow because they want to, not because they have to. This means understanding their needs and finding ways to align with those needs. If you ignore what others care about, you will eventually see your influence slip away. People don't like feeling exploited or overlooked. Listening to their concerns doesn't weaken your power, it broadens it. When people sense that you actually care, they let their guards down. That is where true influence starts. When people want to cooperate rather than feeling they're forced to. If you keep repeating old behaviors that limit your influence, you might remain stuck, wondering why people aren't drawn to your ideas. But each small adjustment in how you treat others and how you present yourself can bring you closer to the kind of influence that lasts. You might begin by practicing restraint when you feel the urge to brag, or you can try speaking less about your plans and focusing more on actual progress. You can also aim to argue less and instead guide others with questions and empathy. Day by day, these little shifts start to define you in the eyes of others. Suddenly, you're the person people trust, not just the one who shouts the loudest. In Robert Greene's view, real influence is a subtle art. It's more of a dance than a rigid system, requiring awareness of your surroundings, empathy for the people involved, and a strong sense of self that won't crumble under pressure. If you drop these 5 unhelpful behaviors, you make room for a sharper, more reliable way to guide others. Instead of chasing power through short-lived tactics or shallow victories, you form connections and trust that can carry you through ups and downs. This isn't just good for public success, it also gives you a sense of stability and confidence in your private life. You won't have to rely on quick fixes or fake gestures to keep your influence alive. Influence is earned through respect, understanding, and a steady demonstration of your capabilities. It can't be forced or demanded without consequences. The advantage of following Robert Greene's warning is that you avoid creating unseen enemies or hidden resentments. You learn to watch, listen, and time your moves in a way that feels almost effortless. People come to you not because you trick them, but because they sense genuine value. If you let go of these 5 habits, you'll find that your influence grows more naturally, fueled by real substance rather than flashes of hype. It's a shift in mindset, but it can be the difference between a short spark of attention and a lasting place of respect in other people's minds.